Welcome to Weapons of Dissonance, a series exploring the dark side of music theory. In Lesson 1, The Dark Science of Evil Riffs, we'll uncover the secret behind writing demonic riffs and melodies that haunt your soul. Now there's three main problems or curses that keep songwriters stuck. The first is the shredder's curse. Guitar players often tell me they can shred, but when it comes to writing riffs, solos, and even full songs, everything seems to fall apart. I call this condition shred sickness. It's a silent plague that infects players who obsess over technique and neglect songwriting. Now, most shredders don't even realize the hidden cost of this affliction. Your musicality slowly erodes, burying your emotional resonance under years of speed drills. That's not all though. Riff block is when you start an idea, but then you can't figure out where to go next. You got this fire riff, looping it over and over, hoping something will happen, but it never does. Now, the last affliction is known as fretboard syndrome. This disease infects musicians who may know a few scales and chords, but they can't figure out how to connect them across the neck to make music that actually moves people. But that ends here. In this series, you'll learn the true antidote to solve these problems. How to weaponize music theory and unleash the creative genius trapped inside you. We'll compose bone-crushing riffs, satanic solos, and hypnotic odd meter rhythms. In Lesson 1, we'll analyze what may be the first metal riff ever written, why Black Sabbath stole it, and how Metallica carried the torch. Along the way, you'll discover the #1 evil chord you can play and how to utilize this power in your own music. Now, before we set foot on our journey to unlock the weapons of dissonance, let's set the stage. Think of this series as a battle with your shadow self. We'll be descending into the depths of our fears, coming face to face with our limitations, and destroying every boundary blocking our path. In our story, the demon Tenebris is the personification of our darkest thoughts. It is he who guards the weapons of dissonance. To complete this course, you must brave the terrors of Tenebris' domain in the underworld and write your greatest song. Now, if you'd like my help along this journey, join my Patreon community below. There you'll get access to the complete course files, tabs, Guitar Pro backing tracks, and more. Apply for my live class to put your guitar gains on steroids. If approved, you'll have access to my legion of fellow shred lords. We meet once a week to learn the dark arts of composition. Before Black Sabbath tuned down their guitars, before Metallica brought metal to the masses, there was a piece of orchestral music that summoned something truly primal. In 1914, Gustav Holst began writing Mars, the Bringer of War, a composition so heavy and rhythmically violent that I consider it to be the first metal riff ever written. Now, this is a really interesting piece. It's about the psychological and emotional force of war. Holst wrote it just before the First World War broke out. The piece eerily captures the relentless, mechanical, and impersonal violence of modern warfare. It's driven by a pounding 5/4 ostinato, dissonant harmony, and explosive orchestration. In the beginning, you can hear that ominous ostinato pattern in 5/4. Now, this ostinato or repeating pattern sets the stage to arm Gustav's arsenal with a legion of dissonant weapons. And perhaps the most dissonant of these weapons is the Viennese trichord. It contains 3 notes, and it's the number 1 most evil chord you can play. The root provides the foundation, the flat second contributes a haunting instability, and the tritone launches a demonic attack on our senses. Now, I want to get into Guitar Pro here for a minute and show you exactly what's going on with this demonic ostinato pattern in Gustav Holst's piece. So the first thing we have to do is change the time signature. This is in 5/4, which really helps contribute to the unease of the piece. And what we're going to do is map out this ostinato pattern right now. It begins with an 8th note triplet, and we're centered around the key of G here. So I'm going to get down to the 8th note subdivision here. And then what we do is we click on the triplet pattern here. And we're going to put in our trifecta, our group of 3 notes there. Bum, 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 bum. So after that, so let's see, let's think about that pattern. Dun, 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 dun. Right? So then we're going to have a series of 2 quarter notes. If I recall correctly. So we've got quarter, quarter. Then let's see. Bum, 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 bum. Then you have some 8th notes. By the way, this is the hardest part about transcribing is getting the rhythms right. But it's a really good exercise if you want to be able to understand musical structure and also just your own music, right? Kind of figuring out your own style. So let's see. We're almost there. Bum, 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 bum. We just need 1 more quarter note, and we should have this ostinato complete. And this kind of serves as like a foundational bedrock to build our musical arsenal and help launch these weapons of dissonance. So let's see what we've got here. Yeah, that's it. So let's break this theme down by Black Sabbath, this iconic 3-note motif. It's not complicated at all, but you can really hear how it's derived and how it comes from Mars, the Bringer of War. It's even in the same key. So we start on G, right? And then we just basically give that for the whole bar. That tone lasts for the whole bar. We got a whole note. And then it jumps. Oh, hold on a minute. We got to adjust back to 4/4 time. So they did change the time signature here to kind of make it fit more into the groove. So we've got a G note, then it ascends up an octave to another G. So far, this, by the way, if you're working on your melody for the piece that you're going to write, you know, is a good example. It doesn't have to be hard or overly complex. Now we're going to go to that devilish tritone interval, the C sharp from G. And that actually lasts for 2 bars. So I'm going to tie that over. And now we have our Black Sabbath theme. And I'm just gonna put that in here. We got Black Sabbath. Okay, let's have a listen. But it didn't stop there. Diamond had directly ripped off the theme in their song Am I Evil? Then came Metallica, who took that ancient war ritual energy and weaponized it for a new era. In this segment, we're going to step beyond licks and shapes and into the forbidden science of what makes music feel evil. I'll be dissecting the core elements that summon darkness, not by accident, but through deliberate design. These are the secret weapons behind riffs that sound ancient, haunted, and unstoppable. So we'll begin by starting the spark with my PMS method. That's right, PMS. So that stands for Personal Experience, Movies, Music, and Stories. If you don't know what to write about, these elements can become raw emotional fuel for your writing. Then we'll shape that chaos using my jam system. This is a game changer. It's basically a primal process for sketching and capturing and refining your ideas. So J stands for jam. You know, that's just when we noodle around and look for ideas. For me, I'll use like a reference to time. It could be a metronome or a drum machine, and then also a reference to pitch. So I'll be using a drone for that. A stands for archive. This means you got to capture your idea, right? If I don't lay something down, I lose it, I forget it. So that could just be your phone. You take your phone and use your voice memo, or better yet, a video. Like, capture yourself actually playing the riff and get that down. You could also use a DAW if you're comfortable doing that. That gives you an even better sketch. Finally, M stands for modify. This is the stage where you craft and shape your idea. You can add parts and refine the work into a full-fledged song. Now grab your guitars and let's walk through this process step by step. I'm about to break down a piece of music I wrote called Tenebris' theme. In my story, Tenebris created the music of the spheres. Then he twisted them into the weapons of dissonance. His music is like the dark matter holding the universe together. He's also the villain in our story, so we have to overcome his dark power by utilizing and learning how to use his own weapons and tools against him. So this theme will leverage the power of that 5/4 ostinato. Also, the Viennese trichord. We're going to be using those dissonant pitches in the melody. We'll also add some pounding mechanical power chords and more. After that, we're going to do some exotic harmonizing using the Pharaoh Scale. Think of this section as a duel with your shadow self. Now, what I'm about to show you is the most powerful antidote to combat shred sickness, riff block, and fretboard syndrome. Now let's put the jam system into play here. So we're going to start by getting a drone going in the background there. You can hear that E drone, an ominous sound. Then I'm going to turn on a metronome. So we've got that click as a reference to our timing, and it's in 5/4 time. 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's a very strange thing to get used to, but from there, you literally can just jam around a little bit. Don't think too hard about this part. Just kind of let the spirit lead, and you might come up with a line or a riff or a phrase. Use a lot of open strings. I'm really hitting my low E there because that gives us a reference point that we can build from, and I have the drone doubling that. Trying to make shit too complicated and obscure and technical right out of the gate is just gonna cut you off before you even start. So I came up with a little ostinato pattern after jamming for a while that fits in this 5/4 groove. And let's see if we can get it going here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, after you've completed the jamming stage, which is what we just did, we just riffed around until we found something. And then in my part of the process, I transcribe it. But you may not be doing that. So you might just jump straight into your DAW next, or your digital audio workstation. I use Logic Pro. Some people use Cubase. There's free DAWs out there like Audacity. You want to put your idea down in some tangible format that's more high fidelity eventually. This way you can share it if you want and just really take your music to another level. So here we are in Logic Pro, and I have some tracks I've put together. Basically, I've got drums and bass happening here. Let's just peep that. Yeah. So we've got all of those sort of basic tracks is what they're called laid down. When you first roll into the studio, the very first thing you record is the drums. That's like the compass for the band. It gives you direction. Now, what I'm going to do is come down here to 2 audio tracks, and I've got them side by side. We'll use guitar 2 and 3. And you can see I've got them each panned hard left and hard right because we're going to be recording 2 separate performances of this rhythmic ostinato pattern. And that's how all metal guitar is done. And not just metal guitar, but pretty much any style of music uses layering to add depth and richness. So let's put in the first track. Okay, good. We got the first one. Now, the special part and the magic really comes into play when you add that second guitar track. If you've ever recorded guitars using double tracking method, you know what I mean. Some kind of voodoo special sauce that happens. And what it is, the mistakes in your playing, the inconsistencies in your tone and attack and pitch actually widen the sound and create this depth and richness. So it's human error that actually makes this sound so good. Very interesting. Okay, second track. Here we go. Cool. Now, at this stage in the process, people hit a roadblock. This is the number one thing I hear from you guys. Hey, Shred, I got a riff going. It's hot. I love it. It's fire. Now what? You're stuck. You just play that same fucking thing over and over again, but you can't figure out how to take it to the next level. This is how you do it. Try adding a part to your riff. So what we're going to do now is put a melody on top, and this is going to be Tenebris's theme. We're going to utilize those dissonant intervals in the Viennese trichord, the #1 most evil, cursed sound, but we're going to disperse those intervals out across the fingerboard. And this is going to do a couple things. First of all, it's going to make the riff really come alive in that ostinato pattern, but it's going to give you more material, and it's going to like lengthen and expand your musical phrases so that you're going to have basically a whole nother part to the song. So that could be, the first thing we did could be like a verse or something, and then what I'm about to show you could be the chorus. So now you have 2 sections instead of just 1. Now let's add Tenebris's melody here. I'm going to start with guitar 1, and we're going to layer this bitch, just like we did with the rhythm guitars. The more is more principle really works well when it comes to recording. So having just 1 track sounds really small and thin. A bunch of tracks sounds massive. So we'll probably do this 3 different times in 3 different octaves. Let's start with the main octave here and see if we can get something cooking. Okay, there's the first take. Now I'm going to go to guitar 2 here, and I'm going to record the same thing, but down an octave. So this is a really great trick you can use to thicken and beefen things up. Here we go. Oh yeah. Now finally, we're going to go way up here into the stratosphere and record a final version of the melody. And we have all 3 of these lines working together to create this singing diabolical chorus. Now here in Guitar Pro, you can see Tenebris's theme, and it begins on these intervals of stability, like the 4th and the 5th. I want to kind of ground us first in the key, and then you can see the flat 2nd degree, the F. That's part of the Viennese trichord. That gives us a lot of dissonant tension. I'm using the minor 7th, which is like the interval of wisdom and introspection, used a lot in sci-fi films. Then we have the tritone here, the sharp 4. So I'm outlining this Viennese trichord with some other intervals too, but you see how this trichord is constructed right there. So this is kind of teased out as we go along with this rhythm below. I kind of just state a little bit of the melody, then add a little bit more and a little bit more. But the full sort of melody together sounds like this. Very wicked and haunting. Now in this segment, we're going to talk about exotic harmonizing. Now harmonizing on guitar is one of the coolest sounds you can do, and you're going to hear this a lot in the music of bands like Iron Maiden. Now before we launch into this, we need a tone palette or a color palette to draw from to get that exotic sound. So we'll be using something called the Pharaoh Scale. So here we are in Guitar Pro, and we're going to start with the scale itself, the Pharaoh Scale. Now, I call this the Pharaoh Scale, but really it's the Phrygian dominant mode. So we've got the drone going on in the background, and that always helps give us context, the C word, to hear those pitches in an emotional light. If you just play a scale without a reference to the root, a lot of times you don't even really feel anything. But when I play these notes, you're definitely feeling something, right? Each one is just dripping and bleeding with emotion. So we begin with the root note there, E, and then we move on to the dissonant and haunting flat second degree. From there, we're going to hit the major third, G sharp. That gives us actually a major tonality for this kind of haunting, wicked scale. Then we have the stability of the fourth, the grounding of the fifth, B, and we're going to launch up to the chilling, melancholic flat six before hitting the interval of wisdom and introspection, the minor seventh, and then we're back to the root. So this is E, Phrygian, let's see, Phrygian dominant, tough word to spell. Think of these pitches as the letters in our musical alphabet. Now from there, we're going to construct some words. We're going to put these letters together and create words. And the way that you do that from a scale, a lot of people ask me, how do you create chords from scales? And here's what you do. It's a secret code, a secret formula. You select every other pitch in the scale. So you begin on E, and then you skip this guy, F, right? Fuck the F. F stands for fuck. Then we hit the third G sharp, skip A, and the B is the next one. So we got E, G sharp, and B. So that's how I'm coming up with these chords. So let's drop in an E chord here, just a regular cowboy chord. The next chord in this sequence is very, very cool. And the way that you get it is you start on the second degree now and skip every other note, which gives you F, A, C, which spells fac, right? So here we go. I'm going to play an F chord, but over that E root. It's very important that you do that so that you have a grounding in the foundation of the tonal center. So these are the words. We've got the letters here of this language, and then the words. And if you wanted to form complete sentences with riffs and stuff, you could actually use some counterpoint, and that's when you move two notes at the same time. You might do some moves like this, which sound super cool. So all together. Or we could, let's see, on this last one, we could have put in the third there. So there's a lot of different options, but this counterpoint aspect is a combination of the first two. Now that we have our color palette or our sonic framework, you know, and the vibe and the mood, let's get into the DAW and we'll bring these exotic harmonies to life. Okay, so here in Logic, I've got a basic track with some syncopated rhythms in the background. This is, it's almost like hypnotizing, right? Like induces a state of meditation. It sort of takes you to an astral plane. And I've got a few guitar tracks down here, just adding some ambience. Very kind of ethereal. Okay, so let's put in the first track, and I think what I'm going to do here is, probably do these like hard left and right. So I'm going to have one sort of harmony, I'm thinking, that's on the top. let's see, let me actually get a better patch for this. So I'll go, yeah, full gain here. So I have a line up here, and then I'm going to have a line down lower to complement that. So let's begin with the first line here. Now here's where the magic really comes alive. When you add that second part and hear the harmonization of the intervals, ooh, it's so good. Pretty cool, right? So let's hear how the full orchestration sounds together. You can hear them kind of going in and out of consonance and dissonance. Ends on a nice consonant. So if we actually look at the transcription here, you can see how each interval works together. We start with this fifth E to B, and then it goes to a minor seventh D to C, which is a little bit more dissonant. And yeah, it's kind of going in and out of phase. Like it unites at some points with a consonant pleasing sound, and other times it's more dissonant. So here we have an F to a B, which is, you know, that tritone. Very dissonant there. These triplets are kind of cool, but if we play this, let's check it out. But what you'll hear typically is all thirds. Like in Iron Maiden, every interval is either a third or a sixth, which is the most common kind of harmonizing to do when it comes to your intervals. But like I'm doing here, you know, I'm using sevenths and I'm using tritones. There's a lot of options to explore. Now, your homework for this lesson is to, number one, come up with a main theme. This could be a short riff or a melody you feel strongly about. Don't overthink this part. I mean, Black Sabbath was just 3 notes. Secondly, find a concept to write about. Music with a storyline is always better. Use my PMS method if you have trouble coming up with ideas. Full course files, including tabs, guitar profiles, and tracks are below on Patreon. Until next time, shred till you're dead.